There was probably about the very, very early 2011, I'd say. Probably very early 2011. I'd met him for the first time. I'd received darshan from him. I'd been reading up for weeks before that, maybe even a couple of months before that, of devotees' experiences on their first darshan with Guruji. And I'd built up this experience in my head of what it should be. It didn't match up to that, of course, but that was the expectation that I had at that point in time. I mean, I went home that night and I cried in the shower. I got no idea what, why. Something obviously spoke to me on the inside. Something that at that point in time that I could not allude to what it was in any which way, any what way. Looking back, it was beautiful, it was amazing. Something that I obviously at that very point in time did not appreciate on the outside, of course. It was probably about 8 months after that. And Guruji visited South Africa. He was in Durban probably for about 4 days or so. And there were just a handful of devotees there that night. And after the satsang, he decided to give a personal blessing. When it was my wife and our turn, we both went in, we knelt, we paid our respects, we looked up, and Guruji looked to my wife and he asked her, tell me, he says, tell me, what is it that you want? And she says to him, Guruji, I want a baby. We'd been trying for a while up until that point, you see. And so Guruji looks at her and he smiles, and then he looks at Shantanu Shingadev, and he asked a devotee sitting nearby to please hand him 2 flowers that were offered to the saligram at the feet of Lord Shingadev. He gives that to my wife and he says, take these home, make a tea of this and drink it, and you'll have yourself a beautiful baby boy. So we did that night, and well, weeks went by, months went by, nothing happened really. Guruji visited again. It was probably a year and a half later, and that whole experience was beautiful. That at the end of the visit, I asked him, Guruji, you mentioned something about a baby, and we still trying, but nothing's really happened. He says, so he closed his eyes. He probably meditated for about 2 minutes, and he opened up his eyes and he says, don't worry, it'll happen. About another year went by or so, and we started to get a little anxious in that. And then we also had sought the help of a fertility specialist as well. And we tried, and then fertility specialist actually phoned us up, and he told us, listen, I'm sorry, Santosh, you're going to have to speak to Nalini, you're going to have to prepare her, because I don't think it's possible, it's not going to happen. We've tried, it's not going to happen. I think you guys need to seriously consider adoption. So thanked him, that was that. And we were really angry at first, and then we got really sad and got angry again, and we stayed angry for a long while, and before accepting it, that it probably wasn't going to happen. And when Guruji said that it probably wasn't going to happen, probably never meant this lifetime. Literally about a month later, we found out that we were expecting. And then 8 months later came this beautiful baby boy. Coming. I mean, just when we'd accepted that it wasn't going to happen, it's impossible, it's never going to happen. I mean, there he comes. Fast forward a couple years later, and we thought, there's no way that lightning strikes twice, right? It's probably at the time when we were most stressed, most anxious. I mean, we were on lockdown, we were not bringing in any steady income at all into the home. And then we found out that, gosh, we're expecting again, and we're six weeks in. And now we've got 2 beautiful boys. so that's that story. Well, they're very different from one another, that's for sure. But what I have to say is, the one thing that I'd noticed is that they're so sensitive, so very, very sensitive to the emotions and the feelings of others, much more than other kids would be. I mean, even at a very, very early age, very little, the big boy, whenever you're feeling down or something wasn't right, I mean, he'd walk up to a person, he'd hug them, ask, are you okay? They're very, very sensitive to the way that people are feeling around them. Yeah. My story starts back in, let's just say, around 2010. Well, I had everything I wanted, really, everything I thought I wanted. but life still seemed empty. So I think then started my search. I found myself a couple months later sitting in an Atma Kriya yoga course. Completed the course, loved it, enjoyed every minute of it. I practiced twice a day, an hour at a time, enjoyed it thoroughly. But then there was all this talk of guru and or spiritual master, and you need one to excel on to advance on the spiritual part. And there was also talk of an Ishtadev, and I was told you needed that as well, right? But I had no idea. So my Kriya teacher, he said, after you do your Kriya, meditate for a bit. Speak to God, ask Him internally. Ask Him, please, show me my Guru, show me who your Ishtadev is. And so that night I remember, sat, meditated, asked internally, please, show me, who is it? So that same night, my sleep broke. I can't remember the time exactly. I looked to the side of me, and at the side of me, I saw Guruji, Paramahamsa Vishwananda, laying on his side, across next to me in bed, with his arm on his head, resting his head against his arm in that manner, smiling away. So, of course, I thought I was still sleepy. Right? I blinked a couple of times, maybe even rubbed my eyes a bit. Still saw him there. Woke up for a bit. Thought I'd go get myself a glass of water. At the door, I looked back just to make sure I wasn't seeing things, and there he was, still there, still in that same posture, still looking at me, and smiling a little wider this time. And only this time, after a second or two, his face started to changed a bit. So his eyes started to darken. They got black and round. The same thing happened to his mouth. His mouth started to disappear, and his nose, it started to merge with his nose, and and it became a bit of a black, roundish sort of shape. And I had no idea what that was, and it disappeared for a bit after. So I phoned Chakradhara, my Kriya teacher, and I said, "This is what happened. What does it mean?" I've got no idea. He says, "Don't you know? What were you asked? What were you meditating on the night before, the night that it happened?" I said, so this is my Guru. He says, "Yes. So what is that other thing after, He says, I'll let that for you to decide. You'll figure that out, I'm sure." So a week went by. I'm sitting somewhere at work, and I think it was on a lunch break, and it hit me. That's Nishingadev. I only now realize that is Nishingadev, and that is who my Ishtadev is. So after his face had began to change and become Nishingadev, he had disappeared about 5 seconds after. And that was it. It was more than a vision, I'd say. It seemed as though he was actually there. Because, like I said, when I moved to the door and I looked at him, he had changed. He changed his gaze. His gaze had changed to look at me, to almost follow me to the doorway itself. By that time, you're awake. You're fully conscious. You're awake. You turn around and you expect to see an empty bed. So, yeah. The initial feeling was, this is not real. This cannot be happening. It's unreal. There's no way this is true. It's just a dream. I'm still asleep, probably. I haven't woken up yet. So I'd taken a walk to the kitchen to get a tablet, a glass of water, and I looked back, and by that time I was really a lot more awake. So at that point in time, of course, this is not a dream. This is real. This is really happening. I have a hard time trying to reimagine what life was before he entered it. And again, my wife and I, we were chatting, and we were saying, if we didn't have Guruji in our lives, with all of those changes, with all those things that we'd been through, with everything that had happened, we would have gone insane. We would not have coped. I can't imagine how we had gotten through it. The strength, the strength that he provides for us, it's indescribable. And he's always there. He's always with you, 24/7, 365, and that you're never alone in anything.